Hello everybody, it's been a while, but we are back with another video on Ragnarok Online Origin Classic. Today we'll be talking about a build that a lot of people have noticed me playing, but I haven't really gotten into the fine details of why this works. We're talking about the support LK. Now I'm gonna dive down into the details of this build, what makes it good, and what sort of composition is good around it. The support LK is primarily a tank for your team. It frontlines very well, it has self-healing, it's very self-sustainable, it can be very tanky, and it provides a crowd control that no other class can do at this level, which is the slow. Lion's Roar coupled with the Aura Blade creates a 40% slow, including the Joint Break debuff that you get from leveling just Joint Break. You can really create a lot of chaos and panic in your opponent team. Now this job is really great in a couple of the maps of Dimensional Drill, mainly card contests or even on the MVP map or on the gold coin map. So let's jump in and see what makes this build tick and what makes it really good. Let's start off with the skill build. The skill build is pretty fixed in terms of what sort of skills you want, because there is not enough skill points to really get all the good skills on Lord Knight support. So this is the primary skill build I'm going for. For the first job is most importantly you need Bash at level 5 so you can unlock Fatal Blow. You also need Magnum Break for one of the skills later on, Sword Mastery at 5, increased recuperative power for Tension Break at the trans job level, and of course most importantly you want to max out Provoke and Endure. Provoke is one of the most underrated skills. Now, a lot of players are not sure how Provoke works. Essentially, in PvP, it reduces your opponent's physical defense by 37%. That means that their equipment, raw PDEF, is reduced by 37%, creating an avenue where players with perhaps not enough ignore PDEF is able to bypass that PDEF layer and deal pure damage to them on this layer. Now, this does not say it in the description. It says in the description, it even says in the description that it does not work on players. But what this description means is that the hatred multiplier does not work on the opponent. The enemies, all monsters are forced to attack you for 15 seconds. That doesn't work in PvP. But this reduced defense debuff does work. It also doesn't really show in your debuff, but if you click on your stats when you're being provoked, you will notice that your equipment PDEF will be reduced. So this is a very important skill to max out, and you have to make sure that you use this every 15 seconds to on the opponent so that they continuously get this debuff. Next, for the second job, we get Cavalier Mastery to 5. As after the buff, it means that we are moving faster than a lot of other jobs. Sword Quicken to 5 to unlock parrying later. Sturdy Strike to 10 for the additional reduction you get from Sturdy Strike. Lion's Roar at 5, Iron Will at 10, and Charge Attack to round it off in the second job. And for the trans job, you want Aura Blade at level 1. Hit Crush to unlock Joint Beat at level 1. Max Parrying, Max Berserk, Max Tension Release, and Rune of Faith. Concentration, you can add any level into it. It doesn't really matter. You can just go for level 1 concentration and go for a higher level in, say, perhaps Lion's Roar, but it doesn't really matter a lot. This one, you only primarily use concentration for the Endure effect. Now, this is also an additional sort of combo you can use to get a maximum uptime for your Endure. Now, Endure, when it's max, gives you a 14-second Endure state. When you use concentration, you also get the Endure state for 14 seconds, which means that this is basically Endure on request. You can just click this any single time and you get the Endure buff. Refresh, and you basically can have permanent Endure every single time. So this is a very important skill. Both of them, if you use them together, you should not be knocked back in any way, shape, or form. Now that rounds up the skill build. In my auto settings, it is most of the debuffs. You've got parrying, you've got Aura Blade. I also put in concentration just so that I don't really have to worry about too much about clicking on it. The rest of the skills are mainly on manual. You see here, I do put in the Provoke, Tension Relax, Berserk to keep yourself alive, concentration, Endure to proc it consistently. Sturdy Strike, I will be using that every few seconds, every 3 seconds in fact, to gain the additional reduction you get from Sturdy Strike. Putting in on manual as well, putting in the Lion's Roar so that you are able to use this in certain situations. To review invisible targets, for example, or if you want to make sure that you get the slow off. Stat-wise, it is pretty simple. You want to max out Vit, and there are essentially two other builds for the substat. One that you can go for the agility substat, which allows you to get more casts of the sturdy strike. This gives you a little bit more DPS, or if you want to go the other route, you can also go more int. This allows you to buff up damage from your firebolt. What? Firebolt? Am I hearing you right? Yes, you're hearing me right, but I'll explain it in a little bit. This is the second skill build, the stat build you can go for that allows you to deal a little bit more damage in PvP. Firebolt. What is Zero talking about Firebolt on a support LK? Well, basically it comes from the Fireblend weapon of the Divine Armament for one hand. It's very important for a support LK to be using a one-handed sword, mainly because you want to have the shield. The Valk shield gives so much reduction for you against fire and water, and of course the reduction here as well for the refined. But Fireblend, what it primarily does, we don't care for the Fireblend about the damage. What we care about Fireblend is the 10% chance to autocast Firebolt. Now what this does is that it creates additional procs for you to use all your additional proc cards, which are the bread and butter of the support LK. Divine Armament for the armor, shoes, and cloak, of course, is going to be the Goipney set to make you a little bit more survivable. But we're gonna dive down in towards the cards for a little bit. Now, why use Fireblend? It's because that it also allows you to proc more on the stun cards. You can use 2 skeletons, you can use Savage Babe skeleton, you can use 2 Savage Babes. They essentially do the same thing. 2% chance to stun a target every time it is attacked. Now, it says attacked, not attacked with physical damage or magic damage, which means that the Firebolt also has a chance to stun the enemy. Now, using a level 1 skeleton and a level 1 Savage Babe means that I have a 10% chance to stun somebody just from these 2 cards alone. Shield card, of course, is going to be the Tara Frogs. The armor card is switchable depending on situation. If the main DPS from your opponent is going to be, for example, a professor, you're gonna want to use the Chon Chon or the Mark. If it's a wizard, you definitely want to use the Mark. If it's a physical class like the Synex, you probably want to use Creamy Fear. And if you have a Ghost String against Paladins, that's gonna be great too. But Creamy Fear is what I'm usually sticking for because I even though Synexes don't hurt me that much, I want to make sure that when they're attacking my teammate, and if their Grim Tooth splashes on towards me, they get feared as well. Accessory, the garment cards are interchangeable as well depending on situation. You can use Mars, you can use Dustiness, you can use Eclipse, Orc Baby, you can also use Choco if you like to. It's really depending on the situation. Shoe cards for maximum zoom speed, and for the accessories, that's where the additional procs do come in. I've got Horong for the sight in case there's any, in case I want to lock down and chase down assassins. You've got the Wind Ghost, which is additional procs for your Fireblend and also for your stuns. You've got also Bongun, which is a very important skill because this bash that it auto procs, it will allow you to get the additional stun coming from the Fatal Blow at your first job skills. You can also use cards like Orc Archer, but I feel like it's not a huge difference anyway, so I put in Stemworm. Higher chance because I've got it upgraded for my PvE, but here it comes into very useful for additional procs. Here gear wise, Marduk, you can also use Gear, you can use Orc Hero, Illusion if you want to. For the Facewear card, it doesn't really matter, nothing really provides you a lot of things. You can use the Rose Ornament card for additional 2% HP if you want to, but ultimately there's not many other better choices. Mouthwear card has to be the Doppelganger for additional size reduction. If I had Backwear cards, I would have GTB or Drake in this slot. And for the armor, nothing really, for the costume, nothing really else matters. You can really put the Baffle or anything else in here as well. Accessory choice wise, it can really be anything at all. I use Necklace for the additional HP from Vitality since I have maxed out Vitality. But you can really just put in Tears, now Rose if you want a little bit more damage. You can really put in Golden Foot Ring if you want a little bit more P damage reduction. Even things like the Angelic Ring can be used for a little bit more self-healing. Enchant wise, it doesn't really matter what sort of enchants you can put. There's not a lot of good enchants that you can get. The most important things that you want is such as for the Facewear and Mouthwear. For example, I'm going a high MDef build to fight against magic users, so I'm putting in MDef. You can also put in things like triple Vit or triple PDef if you like, but overall for the face wear and mouth wear, it's gonna be defensive stats all around. For the armor, if you have Vit boost, you can use Vit boost. You can also use counter crit if you want to go for high crit res sort of build. But overall, same thing with the face and mouth. You can just go for all PDef, all MDef, or all Vit. Shield, shoes, and cloak are about the same thing. It's all about survivability, so any sort of survival stats you can have on these parts are going to be the best. For your weapons, it doesn't really matter. I put in range boon for absolutely no reason at all, because again, these stats on the accessories and a weapon do not really matter. You're a support, you're not scaling with anything, and you don't really need any sort of stats from these stats. You can also put in Agi if you want to be able to spam Sturdy Strike faster, but personally I don't really care about these weapons. I'm only using Sturdy Strike primarily for the reduction, so I'm just putting in these for the moment. Now for the backwear and the armor as well, I'm putting in PvP technique for a little bit of that PvP damage reduction. Overall, it doesn't really matter as well. You can just put in multiple Vit or multiple PDefs on the costume. And for the backwear, you can just put in max HP as well. Overall, this is a very cheap build to play as a support. You are going to be very tanky. You can really just survive on your own with being able to use Tension Relax as well as Berserk. Feather wise, I'm running this feather setup for myself, which primarily focuses on all the black feathers on the defense layer, being Knight, Divine, Terra, and Nature, giving a lot of PDef and MDef. I am getting about 2.8k PDef and about 800 MDef with this current build, which means that I am reducing a lot of damage from both physical and magic classes. For the attack statues, I just put in the Light and Dark with a Grace, Justice, mainly for the PDef here, Grace mainly for the HP, and Faith just for the additional MDef reduction, and also just a little bit more damage for the fireballs. It might come into play, it might not matter, but overall there's nothing else better to put in the attack slot. Meta wise, I've maxed out the Charm and Tempest just for maximum survivability. You can also opt to go in for the Pet HP, which will allow you to tank a little bit more, especially if you're using Child of Earth and the King Piggy. This allows them to survive a little bit longer and ultimately keeps you alive for longer as well. Your primary role as a support LK is to create havoc. It's to slow everybody down and create a lot of chaos for your opponents. The stuns will come into clutch at certain situations. The provoke really makes opponents very soft to Synexes and any physical class, really reducing their opponent's PDef by quite a bit. And being a tanky frontliner, crowd control class that can really have a lot of CC can be very useful. The best compositions to play a support LK with is if your primary 2 DPSs are physical, such as if you're playing with a Doran plus a Assassin Cross. That is probably one of the best lineups to play the support LK with. Now you can play it with a Synex and pair it up with any magic class as well. The slows really create a lot of space for your magic classes to get into position, get their skills off, as well as protect them against opponent's Synexes. And there is just a lot of priority you can do with your charge attack, cancelling resurrections. The stuns will come into play. If you get a stun off while somebody is charging up, for example, resurrect, you stop the resurrect and you also put the skill into cooldown for 6 seconds. It can come into clutch in a lot of situations, so do not underestimate the stun debuff. The support LK is a very aggressive support, crowd control support for your team. And if you're playing a type of very aggressive lineup, such as with a Assassin Cross, this is one of the best pairings in terms of the all-rounded support duos you can give for him. Now, I've played pretty much about a lot of games in Dimensional Drill, high-level Dimensional Drill with the Lord Knight support, and I think it is one of the more underrated classes, because when people think about LK, they think about DPS, but combined with the slow from the Aura Blade as well as Joint Beat and Lion's Roar, you are slowing your opponent down so much that they cannot reposition themselves very freely, and it creates a lot of openings for your assassin or even things like your professor to be able to focus down a target without him being able to run away. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video about the support LK. I enjoy it, playing it a lot. I like being a tank. I like being able to see the entire map and just command my teammates to go to certain situations or focus certain targets. And a support LK really creates a lot of avenues for me to do that. I hope to see more support LKs in Dimensional Drill or even in large-scale team fights as well, which I believe that it will be creating a lot of havoc in those fights. That is all there is going to be for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to click like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in my next live stream. This is Zero signing out. Peace.